The more we work with AI, the more we realize that we need to create something called a second brain. Of course, we have one, but for AI to work for us the way we want it to work, not, generating generic slop that everyone recognizes right away, we need to transpose our brain and create a second brain for AI to get all the information and context and background as to what we want it to do. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I think this is a foundational topic if we want to work with AI in any consistent way, running scheduled tasks, repeatable processes, so then the boring work that we all have to do but doesn't actually live in our job description is taken care of by AI. It works for us. And the second brain is the layer that enables that to happen. What is happening by having a second brain? The bottleneck moves. Now AI is relatively cheap. We have models that are world class that I can access to and work with every single day with Claude Pro, and I can actually do everything I need in these models. And if you think about it, for the $100 it's costing me every month, that is pretty cheap to actually do the work for me and to supercharge my productivity and really help me focus on revenue as opposed to just work. So what is happening now is that the model can get shit done for us. It's going in that direction. That is where it's heading anyway. We want now to give it enough information to do things for us the way we want them to be done. What you actually feed to the model, the context you give it, that second brain you start creating, that is what's going to make the difference now once you have relatively cheap tokens to get real work done, to now understand how you want that work done for you. This is where the difference between using AI and using it really well and actually like making it a competitive advantage is found. So as a small business owner, this is the first thing you want to do with AI is give it enough context and start building that second brain so it doesn't have to ask you for that information. It already knows everything it needs to get something done for you. So that becomes the constraint. Creating this brain is the constraint. Now, we do get exposed to so many tutorials, news, cheat codes, all of that. There's a lot of noise in the AI space. It's normal. It's a new technology, a new industry being born. We're witnessing it. There's so much we don't know about it. So that's totally normal. But we can actually figure out what's signal versus what is just noise. And that is something as we go through the levels, we need to figure out for ourselves. So where are the signals within our business, our day to day that make a certain level of AI interesting for us? The first level and the one we launched with in 2023 with ChatGPT was the L1 chat level, the copy paste, one task at a time. Now, starting last year, we now have the ability to go to level 2 with reusable prompts, basic frozen skills. Skills are something that Claude brought into the game and revolutionized our now ability to create a brain. Before skills, we didn't have that architecture and that setup and that technology or language to set up skills for AI so efficiently and quickly. All skills are just text files that we feed to AI to give it a certain instruction to do something a certain way. This is where, as we build skills or change skills that already exist, this is where AI starts doing things for us the way we want it to. And that is why it's part of the more automation, getting things done for you, task management that something like Cowork would have, or Claude Code, of course. So here we already start using skills to start, and then we get to level 3 with folders and agents. This is where we are creating the best foundational architecture for our particular setup. So folders and skills combined are really like the blueprint, the cheat code for Claude or for AI. Doesn't matter if you're using ChatGPT, Claude Codex, Claude Code. It's all the same in terms of how it gets structured. The foundations of code and the foundations of good project management and data governance, they're always going to be the same no matter what is sitting on top of it as a tool or as an AI. So what's happening here is that we're actually organizing our work. So I can tell you that in the beginning, when I started working with Claude Code, I was at L2. I got that. Like, it was fine. I understood skills enough. I understood how to chat, go back and forth, build out, research, create requirements. But months into it, I was like, hey, if I look back at my architecture, everything's kind of all over the place. I'm installing all these skills. I'm just kind of like a kid in a candy store. I need to go back now and clean house. And that was level 3. That's where I started creating folders, an architecture, the 3-level root, workspace room architecture for skills, where they should all live depending on the project and what they're useful for. That is when I entered level 3. I still remember the moment when I looked back and I was like, wow, I've done a lot. This is great, but I really need to clean house right now. And that's when I reached level 3. And that is something you always have to come back to, especially now with Fable being released. And I'm sure this is going to be old news by the time you see this video. Things move so quick, but with Fable, so I was like, let me use Fable while I still have its usage included to actually clean code. And I'm so glad I did. So that's level 3. And then you build agents, you create routines, you have things working in the background. I would say for me, level 3 is Claude Code, but of course, even in cowork, you need folders, you need skills, and you will be using those. Now, what is a second brain? What goes in there? Let's talk about what goes in there. We have voice, how you speak and write. We always say the first thing you want to change and modify and give AI extra instructions is your voice. Things like past transcripts, videos, writing. So it knows what you sound like. And of course, you can add context yourself. Voice to text is great. Use voice to text to feed this kind of information. It's a very easy, intuitive way of giving context to AI. Positions, what you believe, like what are you here for? Maybe it's your mission, maybe it's your values, maybe it's what you're trying to achieve. Decisions, what you've decided and why. This is very important. So the AI understands how you make decisions and why. I think the logic here, the why, is very important. So make sure that it understands your why, because that's what is different person to person. And that is where your edge and your, unique style is, and your way of doing things, which you want to reproduce with AI. Projects, these are your active work in flight. So you're working on projects. This is what you're currently working on. So it always knows. Update that so it knows what your priorities are. I do a daily briefing with my Claude cowork. It's a scheduled task every day. And that's where we talk about my current active action log, I call it, or my, to-do list. So make sure AI knows what you're working on so you can get as much out of it for your business as possible. It helps having a productive conversation. And then, of course, workflows, gates and traces, workflows and audit trails, SOPs, all of that's already documented. And if it's not documented, it's a great opportunity to actually to document. A lot of times this AI brain lives in someone's brain, and that person might be wearing 5 different hats in a small business or a business. And we want that out. Like, we want those 5 different hats now given to the AI brain, so AI can deal with 3 out of those 2 things that have nothing to do with revenue and your actual zone of genius where you add value to your business and grow it. This is how, there is one thing I want you to remember from this presentation, just one, this is it. Start from pain, not from a plan. This is where a lot of people get tripped up. A lot of people have this great idea, they think it's cool, and then they build it or they embark on it. It seems great in theory, but in reality, it's not rooted in any pain. So when you go and, try to sell your service or your app or whatever you've built, kind of hits reality and starts being used, it doesn't end up solving any real pain. And that's why if it doesn't solve a pain, people will not adopt it, people will not use it. It's going to be there, but it's not going to be something people reach out for until it's steeped in the pain that it solves. That's why people want to adopt something new. We have limited time, limited attention, energy. For me to want to adopt something new, for example, let me give you an example. I used to use Nano Banana. It didn't do what I needed it to do. The moment ChatGPT 2 images came out, I was like, I'm trying ChatGPT 2 images. I had a pain. Image generation for me wasn't working the way I was spending so much energy. I had to make a difference, a switch. And I did it the moment that opportunity presented itself. Now, for example, I use one software to record these videos, and there's another one I want to try. But the one I'm using, it's doing everything it pretty much needs to do. And maybe the other one is better at something. But if this is doing 95% of what I want it to do, why would I go to the other one, spend the time to get to know it, move my content if necessary? It's a lot of investment. What am I getting out of it? So this ROI thought process, and this is why it's called the Small Biz AI ROI Hub, this ROI thought process has to live with you. And ROI is always highest when we start with a pain and solving a pain and contributing to our business North Star. That's the other thing to consider, is what's your business North Star: growing revenue, cutting costs, launching new products, doing more events, whatever it is. Let's start with that. You're solving a pain point because you're trying to do something. So step 1, find the pain, then record your next conversation about it. capture and strip. So about 30 minutes to capture a task. Write the smallest possible solution in a voice doc, one skill only. Create a skill basically. If you solve a problem by creating a skill, and that skill exists to solve that problem. And so then that becomes an agent. You run it once and watch what happens. That's the smallest building block of starting to work with AI. And you're going to do this process over and over again. That's what my A.I.R method is all about. It's audit. So find the pain, find what you need to give it the information to do it, to deal with the pain. And then from there, I stands from implement. So we implement the smallest possible solution. Then we run and we refine. And that's a loop. All work with AI is a loop. That's something you're going to keep coming back to. It's not a one-time thing. That's what development is, building, product development. It's a loop. So this is the natural way that AI will work. We go from pain to agent. And that leads us to the real magic of AI when it works. A version of you that scales. What does that mean? All your judgment, what makes your decision making, your second brain becomes a software as a service. So now there's a software brain of me making decisions for me. And I can have multiple instances at the same time, multiple projects reading my second brain at the same time. So multiple agents accessing the information, making decisions, and moving it along for me while I go to the gym, I'm going for a walk, I'm doing other work, doing things that drive revenue, work on my school community. These are the things I want to be doing with my time, not the admin work. And now you can supercharge that with the brain because you can have multiple versions of you working in parallel. So the brain was always there. What does that mean? You already have all the knowledge in your head. You just have to make it reusable. And now all you need to do is to dump that in a text file. You can use voice to text, speak to it, and then ask AI to clean up the notes, create a skill out of it. And that is when things start developing and leveling up. That is when you start really learning how AI works and improving it because you're going to keep improving it. That's part of the process. Like I said, it's a loop. That loop never ends. You always want to improve things until there's something new to build and improve, of course. And a second brain, this is not a new idea. This is something that's always existed. It's your existing judgment, but it's made readable to software. So now software can read your judgment and apply it to tasks and work on your behalf. So we're going to start now in the next sections, building your second brain for your company, for your business, step by step. What are the most important pieces of work that we can give to AI? And that is where we start building the second brain from. If we want to give AI content, we build the voice, we build the content in the marketing second brain. If we want to give AI operations or customer support, that is the second brain we build or we start from, and then we add to it. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next sections. So what else beyond, managing this context is defining an agent and how good it is. The quality of your agent within that ceiling is totally determined by what you actually put inside it. The second brain is the content layer. So you have a second brain, but what matters is what you put inside the second brain. So that is what is going to make a defining difference between having a good agent or not. And the beautiful thing is that you can improve on it, you can build on it. If it fails the first time, we can make sure it doesn't the next few times. I've spent so many times over a week iterating an agent that is daily, for example, adding something to it every day. Of course, if you already have something to start with, even better. If not, you will run a few loops and you're going to get there. So let's build that second business brain.